Hello everyone. So if you haven't watched our first video, we will quickly give you a recap on who we are. मेरा नाम अनमरी है और मैं साउथ अफ्रीका से हूँ. मैं सबोत की बीवी हूँ and मुझे थोड़ा थोड़ा हिंदी आते हैं.
And my name is Subodh. Ik is van India and Anne-Marie is my vrouw. And ik kan Bikkie Afrikaans praat. So, I was in Mumbai doing life and working, kind of getting ready for arranged marriage. But I just didn't want it to fit with the culture. And one thing I knew for sure in my heart, that God have a bigger plan for me than my mind even can think of. And that's one thing was just keeping me going and having faith in God actually.
So yeah, for me, I've been doing my life the last 10 years here in Cape Town. But ever since I was a little girl, I've always been praying and trusting God for a man that would lead our family in faith and that would always point and direct us to Christ. But never in this world have I ever thought that my husband would be from a whole different world, a whole different continent, a whole different country even. So yeah, God really just blew our minds with putting us together. So we met in 2019 on a volunteer outreach trip in Mumbai.
And I was translating for Anne-Marie and her team in Mumbai back then.
So after the outreach and after we came back to South Africa, Subodh and I exchanged cell phone numbers. We connected on social media on Facebook back then. We were the Facebook generation. But we remained in contact, and there wasn't really something specific going on between us. Besides the fact that I did have a little bit of a crush on him. He was really, really, and still is, very good looking. But I had a little bit of a crush on him. The rest of my volunteer team can vouch for that. They know the whole background story to 2019. But yeah, so we just stayed in contact actually after that volunteer trip to India.
But then in 2022, Anne-Marie came back again for that volunteer trip again, and that's when we re-met. And somehow God stirred something in our heart. We came to this conclusion that this friendship can be more than this, just being friends actually. We started chatting to each other more, spending time on calls and video calls. And then when we realized that, okay, this is something we need to share with our leaders and with our parents actually, and then we did that. And they guided us through this whole process, asking us, because in India, we normally don't date. We don't have a dating culture in India. So we were told to pray immediately. And we obeyed our leaders and our parents, and we started praying for 60 days, which was really not easy. We had to pray for 60 days without having any contact, like zero contact. And no phone calls, no messages, no social media. That was really very hard on us, but that grew in us so much, and that helped us out also actually to grow in each other and for each other and in God as well, so that we could see how this can happen. And God helped us in that a lot at that time.
Yeah. So we will be sharing more of our story in some of our next videos. Yeah. So just hold tight, hold your horses. We will be sharing the rest of our story, 100%. And yeah, we'd love to make you guys more part of that journey as well.
Yes. Like I said, as our feeling grew and then reality hit us, we were building our life on video call, which was something completely different from this world and natural actually.
Yeah, I think for me, there's two things that was really the most challenging things in that beginning phase of us starting our relationship. And I think number one was actually the comments that we got of, how can you get to know someone over a video call? How can you say you want to marry someone and you only have spent time with him over a video call? Which is 100% completely valid and legit. So I think what was so beautiful about our journey is for such a long time, we've spent so much time on video calls and actually getting to know one another. And I think what's so beautiful about Subodh, he was so open about his history, his past, where he come from, how he grew up. Like he literally came with this whole package and said, Anne-Marie, this is who I am. And this is where I came from, this is how I grew up. And I want you to know the worst of the worst of me and the best of the best, so that you know what you're entering into. Like if you say yes to this relationship, I'm coming with everything, this is who I am. And I think it was so beautiful for me to, from the start, literally getting to know him. There was no secrets. There was nothing in the hidden. There was nothing not being shared with me or anything else. So it was so good to actually know him for who he is. And actually in that time, I'm like, sure, I really would love to build a relationship with this person. I would really love to spend time with him. And God really led and create opportunity for me. And in that year, it was 2023, to actually go to India for 3 months. So I lived and worked in India for 3 months to actually see, okay, what I know from him individually, how do I see him with his friends and family? And I got to spend 3 months in Mumbai, getting to know Subodh in person for that 3 months. And I just knew this is the man that I want to marry. And I think a different thing that always come up, and it still does even now that we are married, is sometimes, to be honest with you, I forget, and I think support also, but I forget that my husband is not South African. I forget sometimes that he's actually Indian and he's different. He's supposed to be different than me. And I think something God has really taught us and taught me specifically is we are thinking like we are so bound into a box of culture, and we think that support has to be different because he's looking different or he sounds different, or I need to be different because I am South African, I'm not Indian. But the reality is that the people around us actually constantly reminded us that we are so different from one another, but we haven't experienced that. So for me, I think I've spent so much time in India, and obviously Subodh also came to South Africa, so he was able. It's easier, I think, to adjust here in South Africa than going to India because it is a whole different culture.
Okay.
But I think for me it was so easy to see, why do I love the Indian culture so much? Why do I love him? And I think like it was so good and easy to see how like the similarities between our Afrikaans culture and the Indian culture, like respect for elderly, the way that they host people in their house, the way that they interact with people with so much respect. Like it's so similar to our Afrikaans culture. And I was shocked in the beginning. So obviously, when you go to a new country with a new environment, the culture shock is big. But the reality is once you've spent time there, you got to know a person and you get to know him inside of his space. I got to see that we're actually not that much different. We're actually very similar, and people think because we look different, they need to remind us that we are actually different. But yeah, it was actually I think those two things are two things that God really worked in my heart, is that we are not that different. We are actually, there's so much similarities, and also like we had the chance of building our lives together only over video calls, but God created that opportunity for us to connect in person.
That's true.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, then there was a time actually for me to share the story with my dad, and to be honest, for my surprise, it was completely different than what I expected. I've shared with my dad that there's a South African girl that I'm seeing at the moment, and I just want you to know that I am not sure how it's gonna be, but I just wanted to share that with you and have a heart-to-heart conversation. He immediately told me, son, that we only marry once. And if you have plans for this woman, and if you are planning your future with this woman, then only spend your time and your energy. Otherwise, don't waste each other's time, because the more you will spend time, the more difficult it will be in the future when it comes, you guys don't have any direction. And he said that you have to have a clear plan in your mind. You have to have a clear conscious in your mind that you will be marrying this person. And that actually helped me a lot. And I took that advice from my dad, and I really used that in a way to, whenever I was talking to her, I was very, very mindful, and I was intentional with each and every conversations which I was having with her. And that helped me a lot. So yeah, that's something that I would suggest someone who's actually seeing someone there, and have that clear conscience in your mind. If you're spending time, if you're talking to someone, have that idea in your mind whether you are seeing your future with that person, or you're just there to do this, have a good time. So that's one thing I would say that it's one thing that we need to keep in mind.
So I think we've said quite a mouthful now. This is just the first part of our story. But I think something that I've realized now that's so constant is we've been through a lot of ups and downs, and we've had a lot of challenges to overcome. This what we shared now is just a little bit of it. But God is still so faithful, and He remains so faithful throughout our story.
That's true. So there was a time that I was overthinking this whole thing, whether this can happen. God, really, is this from you? And then I got reminded of one of the word that my elder brother gave me, and he told me that, bro, that I feel like God has a plan for you. That your partner won't be from India; she will be from a different nation, and that gave me that confidence that I could hold. From that time, things really started changing in my mind as well. I was all the time just submitting all my worries and my overthinking to God, saying, God, I know that you gave me this word and I'm standing on that. So that's one thing, that's how I tackle that overthinking. So, but there's more. This is just a part one, like my wife just now said, that this is just a part one. Please stay tuned for part two. We will be sharing more of our story with you guys. And please let us know actually in the comment section that where you guys are watching us from. That helps us to understand that who our audience is, and from where you guys are watching us actually. So please stay tuned and have a blessed time. Bye-bye.
Bye.